Hey guys, Edre here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the new Struts album, Strange Days. Now, on the surface, the Struts are a very solid group. They have a good singer, good guitar work, and overall, really good chemistry. But they tend to, at least on this album, follow through with the same problems that I have with a band like Greta Van Fleet. Now, the Struts' biggest influences are most likely Queen and the 70s and 80s glam music, as well as some of the hair metal stuff. And while that's not bad, it becomes a bit problematic the more you listen to this album. Because instead of it sounding like they are influenced by that style and that era of music, and then they take it in a new direction, that's not really what happens. Instead, they take many stale glam rock and classic rock cliches, such as songs like Do You Love Me, which just come across old and already beat out, and there's not much left to give. We've heard these cliches before. And while the musicianship is good, the vocals are good, they just feel so ripped out of the glam rock or Queen playbook to the point where it feels so unoriginal it hurts. The opening track on here, Strange Days, had an unneeded Robbie Williams feature, which, number one, it's beyond me as to why they thought that was a good idea. But beyond that, it just comes across as a very bland, overblown glam overture that introduces the listener to this album and gives him a warning right off the bat that what you're going to be hearing is what you've heard before from bands like Queen, from hair metal bands like, Def Leppard, from that era of music. There's nothing really that new here. The lyrics are definitely inspired by 2020. They definitely have some COVID themes about isolation. But that still doesn't make this album really seem that modern, because the minute they cover this on the opening track, they switch to your most basic, bland, classic, and glam rock lyrics imaginable. All dressed up, for example. Classic rock cliches across the board. Talking about revving up your car, getting all dressed up. It just comes across as so unoriginal and just not nearly as energetic and inspiring as I think they actually think it is. And like I said on the song Do You Love Me, another song with pure, just full of stale, things that I've heard from actual glam and classic rock bands from the 70s and 80s over and over again. The song I Hate How Much, and it's a longer title, so I'm just going to condense it to that, features none other than Def Leppard. And, well, I actually think this is one of the stronger songs on the album. It is actually good that they get one of their influences on here, kind of solidifying their sound. It just feels like they're begging to be accepted in the rock community. And, while the song itself isn't bad, it's nothing that Def Leppard wouldn't have done much better 30 years ago. And, luckily, they do kind of changed the pace a little bit on Burn It Down. It's a little more piano, a bit more of a change of pace, kind of nice, a bit of a breather, a bit of a refresher. And then you get songs like Can't Sleep, which sounds just like what Jet were doing and what a lot of other glam revival, garage revival bands were doing in the early 2000s. And it sounds a lot like what Green Day was trying to do on their last album, Father of All. And if you watch my review, we all know how that turned out. Not good. At the end of the day, what it all just comes across as is yet another Greta Van Fleet. Now, for those who don't know, Greta Van Fleet is a band which, like I said, is a talented band. Good vocals, good guitar work, good drumming, good everything. But they are just ripping off Led Zeppelin. Whereas the Struts are taking Queen's book, especially in the vocals, especially his style of singing is uncanny to Freddie Mercury in some spots. And just kind of making subpar songs to the sound and hoping it works. Hoping that maybe they could, reach out to the older audiences that were into this stuff. But none of it comes across as original. And unfortunately, that really, really, really hurts this album a lot. And I will cover this right before I get to the rating. I struggle to give this the lowest possible score because there is good musicianship here. There is good singing. There is good just artistry here. And just overall good chemistry between all the band. And yet, I have a glimmer of hope that, they can possibly... And to be fair, their previous works before this album weren't horrible. I didn't hate them. I thought they were average. I actually think that some of the songs themselves really stood out in that they had a pretty good sound. But we're a bit into their career at this point, and I would have expected them to really start changing it up. And this has become quite concerning. And considering they are going out of their way to get older artists featured, it's hard for me to see any good path for them down the line. However, I really hope they do. And unfortunately, this has left me settled on giving them a light. 3 out of 10. Now, that's a negative review. Anything below a 5 is bad. Anything above a 5 is good. So a 3 is not the best. What kept it from being lower was the pure musicianship and talent. But there's nothing original here. Nothing really stood out to me as being signature to them. Nothing that I can't hear done better by bands 30, 40, even 50 years ago. Unfortunately, that is the review, or that is the rating I have settled on giving this. I really hope they really do change up their sound and become more unique, because they have the potential. The Struts, Strange Days, an unfortunate 3 out of 10.